Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Oilers down 2-0 again. And I don't know if I was expecting the worst. I didn't know what to expect at that point. I thought they might come back because we have seen that. And they did. They won 7-3 and kind of a game that turned out to be a bit of a laugher by the end of it, and quite a strong performance by the Oilers. So what did you think of it, Bruce?
Well, other than the 0-2, how'd that happen? It was a nice outburst from the boys, nice bounce back from a fairly sloppy start, especially by the special teams that had a rotten first go of it. And only in they gave up 2 goals on 2 power plays by Anaheim, and the Oilers' own 2 first power plays didn't get a lot done until the very end of the second one, when the second unit got the job done. With a great shift, they had 3 chances, and they scored on the third one in the last 30 seconds of the power play after the first unit had done much. And I scribbled a note to you, David, I don't know if you noticed, in a margin, saying if I was Jay Woodcroft, the second unit would get the start of the next power play, no matter what, as a carrot and stick. Here, you produce, you get the next chance. And that's a reward for them, an incentive that, hey, we're part of this power play unit finally. And it's also a little bit of a nudge to the main power play that hasn't been producing. Not sure it entirely worked, because the one power play that the Oilers did get after that was also not very good. But
well, I think they did get out there, though.
From the coach's standpoint, it was a perfect call.
I think they did. Yeah, they were put out there first for the next power play, and it wasn't until much later in the game, till way in the third period, I believe. And
but he remembered. And he did. To me, that was the exact perfect call. Deliver the message to both units. So
that was obviously a huge moment. That in the first period, when they got that goal right at the end, it's
made it 2-1.
Absolutely critical. Yeah, they get that because they've done that before, where they scored to make it 2-1 right at the end of the first, and they came back in that game too, as I recall. I can't remember who they were playing.
Well, there's been a few of those 0-2 down games to choose from, and they have won like several times now. I'd say maybe 5 games that they've won from 0-2 down over the course of the season.
This is one where they
had about 20 opportunities, but
this is one where they scored right at the end of the first period again. Like there was even less time left. I think there were like 10 seconds in this other game. I can't remember who it was against, though. Bruce, I'll start it off with my good. This is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. I just thought this was really a total team effort. I mean, the Oilers were quite dominating in the end. Aside from that bad start, they had 22 grade A shots, 11 for Anaheim, 16 5-alarm shots. 16 5-alarm shots for 5 for the Ducks.
Wow.
So just stomped Anaheim, and had all kinds of great chances in close on Gibson. Scored 7 goals. I mean, I guess that's what it takes. 7 goals on a good goalie. You're going to need 16 5-alarm shots and 20, as a subset of 22 grade A shots. So, I know what you have coming up as your good thing, but I do want to highlight just they only had 3 real lines, I guess, were functioning, but the third line of Fogle, Ryan, and Nuge scored twice, and they created 6 grade A shots between them, 6 of the 21. So they had 3 lines actually that were all high functioning lines. I mean, every single forward line was just producing, and Anaheim didn't have a lot of sustained defensive or offensive pressure in the Oilers zone. I think the Oilers are going to be vulnerable to that with this defense and with young defensemen. If you come up against a team that can really play in the offensive zone, puck protect, forecheck, cycle the puck, that team is going to give this Oilers team hell. You can see it coming. But Anaheim isn't really that team. They didn't strike me as they're a skill team, not a power team.
Right.
Maybe without Getzlaf in the lineup, that changes the complexion of their team quite a bit. But go ahead.
they missed Getzlaf more than I did.
Yeah, fair enough.
That guy's been a pain in our side for a long, long time.
Oh God, Bruce, he changed the history of the Oilers franchise when he injured Andrei Sekera. I mean, if Sekera was the Oilers' best defenseman, and Clefbaum was the best defenseman in that playoffs, but through the regular seasons, for 2 years, Sekera had been the team's best defenseman, and suddenly he was gone.
Yeah.
Never the same player after
Never
that,
the same.
and
Never the same.
never the same player. And the Oilers were never the same team because they were missing their number one left shot D man. I just think it was a profoundly significant injury in the history of the Edmonton's McDavid era franchise. So yeah, Getzlaf, who hit. It wasn't a dirty hit on Sekera. Wasn't that dirty a hit, at least by Getzlaf's standards. It's a hard hit. He's just a big hard hitting player. And anyway, yeah, I'm glad he wasn't there too. I was happy when I heard that. So yeah, the defense wasn't seriously challenged, but they played well enough. I mean, they only gave up five alarm chances, and we're just getting a handle on how many you'd expect to see in a game. But I think 5 seems to be not that many.
Well.
Yeah, 5 is low.
5 alarms.
Yeah,
right.
five.
What was the total grade A's?
11 grade A's. 11 grade A's is below average for the Oilers. They give up about 12, 13 a game, something in there. So 11's grade A shots is below average. So yeah, and not a lot of. I didn't notice a lot of 2-on-1s again, Bruce. This is, we remember the nightmare of the last days of Rome when Emperor Dave Tippett was still in charge and the Visigoths were running wild, with 2-on-1s after 2-on-1s. But we didn't have that. We haven't had that in the last 2 or 3 games with Woodcroft. So they've really cut that down. I don't remember one tonight. Do you? Maybe there was
2-on-1.
Yeah, or odd man rush even.
Yeah, I think there was a couple that they didn't convert into shots. It sort of had the potential to be a 2-on-1, and they either made a bad pass or it went awry. But nothing like the open freeway that was Edmonton's defensive zone in fairly recent times. That's changed a lot. I've read a lot of commentary online about how much tougher the Oilers are on the puck, harder and on their own blue line, letting guys in and playing more aggressively. And I mean, some of that's in the eye of the beholder, but I think some of it's pretty real. This is a different looking team than we were seeing 2 weeks ago. So,
Bruce, what's your good thing?
Yeah, I'm just going to single out the 3 stars, as I believe chosen by Louis DeBrusque. It just says here by Sportsnet. First star, Derek Ryan. Second star, Ryan McLeod. Third star, Warren Fogle. So 3 Oilers forwards, none of them named McDavid or Draisaitl. Both those guys, of course, had 2 points. But guess what? All 3 of these guys had 2 points as well, as did 2 other Oilers forwards. They had 7, count them, 7 forwards with 2 points in this game. And then they had 3 more with 1 point, and only the relatively little used Devon Shore was held off the score sheet. And otherwise, they were getting scoring up and down the lineup. Derek Ryan, who I think's been playing terrific hockey since he's moved to right wing, who knew? And they put him on right wing with the Nuge, and all of a sudden he's all over the place. Like, he was playing some really good hockey. And again, he scored the tying goal in this game. He scored a pretty, his last goal was a pretty important goal in the time of the game it came as well. But this one tied the score on a nice deflection, which was how Anaheim had scored their first 2 goals. And Ryan made a good play to set this whole sequence up in the first place, gaining the zone and sort of establishing the possession. And then it was kind of a nothing play. It went around the boards, it went back to the point. Cece let an outside shot go, and there's Ryan getting a piece of it with his stick, and into the net she goes. Kind of a nondescript play, but we'll take it. He later earned an assist, and I thought, fairly deserving. I mean, I like the concept of let's recognize some of the role players on the Oilers because they played well. Ditto Ryan McLeod, man, he had 2 beauty assists this game. One on the power play where he set it across to Evander Kane for the wicked wrist shot that made it 2-1. This was seconds after he'd made another great pass from behind the net to Darnell Nurse in the slot, and John Gibson had made a great save. And at this point, it's 2-0, and Gibson stopping everything. And I'm going, boy, I don't like this deficit with the goalie playing like that. But they solved him on the next play on a pass by McLeod, and then he made a gorgeous pass. He touched the puck twice. He got it ahead to Kane. He took the return pass from Kane as he busted into the zone, made a beautiful cross-ice feed that Draisaitl basically tapped into the open side of the net. That made it 4-2. That was a game winner. And I liked his game. Like, he was skating well. He was all over the ice. Wish he'd shoot more. That's the only thing. But he's really becoming a force out there. And in the interview they had with him between periods, he talked about having fun and the fact that he knows the new coaching staff and they know him as an advantage. And this is true of a lot of these young players. And then the third star, Warren Foegele, another 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, +2, 4 shots on net, and just buzzing around and making himself useful for Edmonton and a pain in the butt for the other team. And that's what you want to see out of that guy. And really, all these guys, they took advantage, I think, of the fact Anaheim played last night.
Yeah.
And just took it to them and outskated them over the course of the 60 minutes.
When was the last time
they were getting all the lines producing was
yeah. When do you think the last time, Bruce, the Oilers had a good third line? Because we've had now a run of games here where this is actually, it's kind of mind blowing. They have a functional third line, and it's an interesting combination of players. Foegele providing a lot of the muscle and hustle, and Ryan, a very smart player. You take a player off center and put him on the wing. That's a huge benefit. There's just so much more responsibility, difficulty playing center than the wing. And but Kyle Turris got moved from center to the wing, and he didn't get any better.
Right.
But Derek Ryan has been trending up. Actually,
he
started off well. He really went down for about a month, but ever since then he has been trending up. And now that he's been put on the wing, he's really taken off offensively in terms of making plays. So, and then Nuge is playing really solid hockey at center, I have to say. I've been a skeptic of him. Somewhat at center, but he's getting the job done, and it's kind of eliminated talk of the need to trade for a third line center. So, when I'm just trying to think, when was the last time?
Michael Pekka between Rafi Torres and Fernando Pisani. That was
what about 2016, 17?
2016, 17. They had a variety of how they did it, but for sure, I mean, they had
McDavid, Maroon, and Draisaitl was one, and then they broke them up. So then you'd have Nuge, Luch, and Eberle was the third line, but they weren't very good in the playoffs.
Yeah, they didn't score. They didn't score in the playoffs. They were really hot down the stretch of the season when the Oilers had a super hot winning streak down. I think they went 12-2 in their last 14, and it was like everybody was scoring. But anyway,
so that's the last time.
Quite a while.
Third line was during that stretch. Then it didn't last into the playoffs. Who knows how long this will last with these three players? But it's looking good. And it's an interesting combination of skills. They can all skate. They all hustle. Nuge and Ryan are very smart hockey players, I think. Yes. And Foegele is quite a rambunctious one. So we'll see. I like it. Really worked tonight.
Great pass Nuge made to Foegele for his goal, but Nuge was the third wheel on his own line tonight. He was the only one that had only 1 point, and he was the only one that wasn't picked as the star. And he had a pretty good game, But anyway, it was a good game for a lot of players. I'm going to be giving out some fairly consistently high grades, I think, especially for forwards in this game.
Yeah, it might average 7 or 7.5, like the grades. I mean, just who didn't have a good game? Just one good game after another, like maybe a couple great games in there. So, bad things.
Couple bones to pick up.
All right.
Other parts of the lineup, but nothing too serious. I mean,
yes,
they won by 4 goals.
Yeah. And the player I'm going to single out of as my bad thing, was not that bad, but he did look. I've raved enough about Philip Broberg in different circumstances that I think it's fair to criticize him now and then. He's a work in progress. I'm not sure he belongs right now in the NHL, honestly. I've seen him play a different game, a much more active game. He seems kind of sleepwalking around, Bruce, like kind of slow, moving and not really battling. And certainly on the power play goal that he was out for Anaheim, he just gave and this was remarked on in the broadcast. I think maybe Louis DeBrusque remarked on it. Just gave I think it was Trevor Zegras, all kinds of time with the puck to make a play. You just can't do that. I mean, he read it wrong. He didn't take away the pass down low, and he gave him all kinds of time. And of course, Trevor Zegras made a great pass into the slot for a tip goal. So he looked bad there. Then he was caught on, and there was he was out for another 5-alarm chance in the second period, and he was just kind of slow coming back up the ice, cruised into the slot. Now, there was 2 players when he got there, so it was hard to cover 2 guys, and one of them, this was the play where the Anaheim shooter thought he had scored, and there was a long video discussion about whether the puck had gone in. Well, Broberg was the guy who was supposed to cover in front, along with some other mystery player who was wiped out in the corner, I think. Ryan McLeod had made a turnover on this particular play. Right. I think he got wiped out in the corner. He kind of put it up the boards, and it was picked off at the boards and put on net. Anyway, Philip Broberg he's big, he's fast, but he's not really. I think players get tentative, Bruce. This is what you notice. They flash some talent when they come up. Then they get out there and they just are not playing hockey. And then if they stick around long enough, there comes a point where they realize, like, I'm not going to make it here. I'm going to get sent down. I'm going to, and then they get desperate and then they go for it. So I don't know if they're going to wait for that to happen or if they're just going to send him down. I guess they'll probably keep him because they need him until Chris Russell comes back. I don't know when he's coming back, or Duncan Keith, one or the other. So he might not go anywhere in the short term, but Marcus Niemelainen and William Lagesson are definitely outplaying him. Yes. And he is definitely not playing his A game. He's not playing his B game. He's playing his C or D game, his really passive game that comes with, I think, feeling things out and being tentative and unsure of yourself. That's how I read his play right now, because I've seen him try to force his will onto the game. And that's not what we're seeing now. And it would be hard for him to do that, frankly, as a rookie in the NHL. I mean, he's a defenseman who's going to have to feel his way up and get experienced and get more confidence that way. So I'm not down on the player. And I know many people are really upset. And tonight we'll put an exclamation mark on that the Oilers didn't draft Trevor Zegras.
Zegras beating him one-on-one on that play is going to just be a clarion call to the critics of the draft pick in the first place, or
they'll get out there,
dare I say, after the fact. But many were critical right at the time that Zegras was the best player available, and he sure made Broberg look like a rube on that play. He just held the puck and he changed the passing angle, and Broberg just stood in place like he was rooted to the spot. And what really bugged me, and this is the second game in a row that he's been directly involved in a goal on a pass through his lane, he did nothing with his stick.
Yeah.
Like, use your freaking stick, man. I mean, get it in the lane, swave it around, get chipped the puck. At least present a wide stance of your body plus your stick. And he's just kind of standing there with a stick by his side, and the pass goes right by his feet and right onto the goal scorer's stick. 2 games in a row.
Yeah, he's 6'4" or 6'3". Like, he's a great big rangy guy. Like, be active out there, man. Like, get into the game. But again, he's not doing that. And I just take it as a sign of being a bit overwhelmed. And I don't know if that's the case. But having seen this player again, I think that is the case. That's my read.
Not quite ready for prime time. I think he's closer this time than he was last time, but I think he's still on the learning curve, and that's one thing he's going to have to figure out, or he will never make it. I'm sorry to say, but you got to figure that out. Your stick is your livelihood. You got to be able to deploy it, especially in the passing lanes and so on. When the other guys have the puck, it's still your best weapon to get the puck back off of them.
I haven't seen him play in Bakersfield this year. I've just been too busy coaching and playing to comment on his play down there. So I don't know how good he's looked or bad he's looked. So
Both.
both, which is that's
Mostly,
typical of.
mostly good. Like, and I mean,
Okay.
he's like way up. I think he's got he's a big outscorer down there, and he's got like very good points rates and stuff. He's had some very good games, and he has these lapses that from time to time that you'd expect from any young player, and a couple of real stinker games. But
It can take time, especially it's modern NHL. It takes time. Things happen so fast out there, and you just have to be very confident as a defenseman. So
I'm confident that Dave Manson will make the exact same points that I just made to Philip Broberg, and he may even sprinkle it with a couple of extra adjectives that I don't usually use on the family podcast. Just guessing, or maybe it's a tender kid gloves treatment. We don't know the personalities, but
well,
it has to be addressed. Has to be addressed.
you know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what his bedside manner is as a coach, so to speak. Like, and we do know that the old screaming, kicking, yelling, cursing kind of coach is no longer in style. That kind of character
Mm-hmm.
is not in style in the corporate world. I mean, when I started out at my newspaper, the Journal, there was those managers, Bruce, still who were the cursing, screaming, kicking, yelling managers, right? And they're just that kind of. I don't know. I don't work in another workplace. I can't say if it's gone elsewhere, but it's gone. It's been gone from the Journal for a long time, and I suspect that at most workplaces, that kind of behavior. And from what I hear of the NHL, I mean, I'm not around in that milieu. We're fans in the stands
Mm-hmm.
or fans on our couch. We don't know that, but from what Bob Stauffer says on the radio, he makes it clear that kind of coaching is on the way out as well. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this: if Jay Woodcroft was running our podcast, we would immediately have to change the name to Four Good Things, One Bad Thing, because apparently that's the ratio that he presents opportunities to improve. I think is his terminology for when guys make mistakes, and he asks the video guy apparently to isolate on the bad play, but to find four other similar plays and similar situations where that player did the right thing. And then they present the 5-pack to him and say, see, this is how you've done it in the past that it worked, and this is what you didn't do on this play, and look what happened, pucks in the net. And I love it. I think that's ideal, especially with young players.
Well, the golden, this is, coaches have been talking for some time now, like the last 15, 20 years, about the golden ratio of 5 compliments to 1 criticism.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
he's doing that visually, right, with visual instruction, which is such a great way to teach people if you have access to that video. And yeah, I have to say, Bruce, I like the way Jay Woodcroft wears his face mask. He's going
Fake
to get
beard.
Amarjeet, so he's going to come to the bench and arrest him personally for setting a bad example for us Edmontonians.
Maybe he's eating a hot dog. You're allowed to,
He's got a little whiskey
he's,
bottle in
he's
his
got a,
pocket.
there you go.
Just having a sip now and then. Would you like a nip, Amarjeet? That's
So,
exactly it.
yeah, so levity notwithstanding, my bad thing is anything but, and that is the injury suffered by Jesse Puljujarvi, fan favorite. Jesse Puljujarvi, who did score tonight, the goal that put the Oilers ahead to stay. May have tweaked something on that very play because he only had one shift that lasted 20 seconds either afterwards. So either he went in the ice and something happened right away, or he went in the ice, took a lap, and went, "Oh, this isn't right. I better get off." And they just took a precautionary take the rest of the night off. Yes, we've got this, and they did have this, and so at the moment, I mean, if it's a minor thing, then it's not that bad of a thing. But potentially, it would be a very bad thing to lose that player for any length of time. He's so much fun to watch for starters, but he does thing. I mean, he got that goal, but earlier in the game, he made a fantastic short pass in the neutral zone that put McDavid in alone on goal
Oh
because
yeah,
Yessa was hustling on the back and he just scooped the puck back in the right direction and McDavid was on it and only John Gibson prevented that from being an assist for JP. And I thought he was playing pretty good, but then he was gone after 8 minutes and 55 seconds was all he got to play in this game, and he basically was gone midway.
I wonder if he didn't hyperextend something on that goal, and it's too bad he's gone. He's got the hot skate going, so you never want to lose the guy with the hot skate. I thought for sure he had one timer that in the net, but then the replay obviously shows him missing it completely, and it goes in off his skate. Yeah, he's been playing a lot better the last 2 or 3 games. He's looked like his old self, quite energetic and effective, and he's a good 2-way hockey player. Yes, Puljujarvi. He's a solid NHL player, and they will miss him if he's out for any amount of time. Maybe it means they call up Holloway. I don't know if they would be ready to do that, but I wonder. So numbers, Bruce. I'll start off with my number. My numbers are 8, 8, and 13 out of 18. So the Oilers, since Evander Kane joined the lineup 9 games ago, there's been 18 points up for grabs for the Oilers, and they've gotten 13 of 18. 6 wins, 2 losses, and a loser point shootout loss. So there was genuine concern about Kane on a number of levels, but just dealing with the hockey level, there was concern about him, getting along with his teammates, the kind of player he is, the kind of person he is, and he has not been a team killer in any way yet. I mean, the team seems to be thriving with him, and he's thriving. This is where the 2 other numbers, 8 and 8, come in. He's +8 goals, plus minus, and again, I think that's a crappy stat, but it can be indicative of a good player, and in this case, it is. He's killing it as a 2-way player right now. He's been exceptionally good, both on the attack and on defense, playing at just a really high level for a winger. And he's been strong on the power play, directs a lot of shots on net. So, and he's got 8 points to show for it, for his offensive contribution. So everything so far is working out well with Kane. He's an interesting player. The puck isn't on his stick very much at all, and that makes him. They've got him with Draisaitl now. Yep. But I wonder if that doesn't make him a better player in the end for McDavid with Hyman with Draisaitl. And we still haven't seen that Hyman-Draisaitl combination, which I've actually been hoping to see, because there's, the 2 master puck protectors and physical players with the puck. I'd love to see them together. But Hyman is, he kills it, which with whatever line he's on. But yeah, they've got these, Bruce, we sometimes wonder, like, are the Oilers a better team than in the past? Like, have they built up? Did Ken Holland do anything? Man, he's added Zach Hyman and Evander Kane. These are 2 excellent 2-way top 6 wingers, and it's just a dramatic change for the Oilers. In terms of who they can play with, Draisaitl and McDavid, and
that's for sure.
I think Evander Kane's been, everything I was hoping. I don't know what I was hoping to see, because I didn't have a good read on his game, but I've really liked his game so far.
Well, tonight he had, I'm going to call it the Evander Kane hat trick, because it's a kind of a hackneyed term, but he scored a goal, had an assist, and drew a penalty. And he had 3 shots on net. He had 6 hits to lead the Oilers. And he was in the middle of stuff, there was 2, 3 scrums around him, and, nothing like filthy, dirty or brutal, but he engages.
Yeah.
And that's been a shortcoming on this team, I would say, for a while.
He's averaging about 4 hits a game with the Oilers, so that's a lot of hits.
Yeah. I mean, tonight he played 20 and a half minutes, like he's getting the big ice time. And I think he's starting to, at first it was clear he was rusty and he was maybe not at tip-top shape and speed and stuff. And that's starting to come. I mean, he's getting his reps. He's played 9 games now. I would hope he's starting to come around. And pretty hard to argue, 4 goals, 4 assists, +8, 12 penalty minutes, and he's been becoming increasingly a factor. So,
yeah. What's your number, Bruce?
My number is 15 and 5, and that is his goals for and against by the Oilers this week in soundly beating all three California teams in a row. 3-0 in San Jose,
Yes.
5-2 in Los Angeles, 7-3 at home against Anaheim. And you gotta love it. Now, I will grant you that the LA game was a lot closer than 5-2. 2 late empty netters, but scoreboard says they won by 3, and I'm not going to argue with the scoreboard. I'd lose. So I won't call that one a thrashing, but they drubbed San Jose, and they completely took over this game tonight against Anaheim. And these are games they have to win. Well, guess what? They actually won the games they have to win. And the games you would hope they should win against a team that maybe doesn't quite measure up to them. And the fact they've been losing too many games against lower teams in the standings. I looked at maybe 2 weeks ago at the All-Star break, and they had played against the bottom 6 or 7 teams in the NHL, and their record was like 5-4-2. So they actually had won, not even they won a minority of the games, got a couple of loser points, and at the same time they were like 0-5 against the top teams in the league. And you think, well, you either got to start beating those top teams, or you better be beating all the time the bottom and middle teams. And anyway, they took care of business this week with by taking out all 3 of those California teams, which we haven't seen much of in the last 2 years, but which we quickly identify as hated long-term rivals. At least I do, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone.
I really hate those teams. They just beat up on the Oilers. In the decade of darkness, that's the memory that sticks out, is going to California, just getting the snot kicked out of the Oilers again and again and again. All 3 of those teams just pounding on the Oilers and wrecking them, and the heavy hockey that they played, and it was just brutal. Yeah.
That one year, I mean, there was one year where the average NHL forward, I did a story on it, the average NHL forward weighed 204 pounds, and the heaviest Oilers forward was Sam Gagner at 202 pounds. And they would go into, Anaheim, or they'd be Getzlaff, Perry, what's his pickle, Kessler, all these big skill guys, and they would just overpower the Oilers in the physical battles, win all the board battles, and then they could stick the puck in the net. And 7-3 would be the score rate, but not for the good guys. So I don't mind dragging them through the mud a little bit, and I mean, and I don't think Woodcroft did anything to run up the score tonight. He just, he just rolled his lines. At the end of the game, he had like his 8th, 9th, and 10th forwards out there. He had Shore and Nugent's spot with centering the third line, and he had all his stars resting on the bench and playing it out. But
yeah, the Oilers are they were behind due to the COVID situation. They had been behind 6-7 games that they had to make up. They've made up those games on most of the teams, and they've caught up to most of them. The only team that's really ahead of them significantly in their division is Calgary, which is a plus 52 goal differential. The Calgary Flames right now. Holy moly, they must be playing good hockey.
More than a goal a game.
Yeah,
that's
amazing. That's a Stanley Cup contending kind of number right now for the Calgary Flames. So hopefully they'll fall apart and collapse, but we can
playoffs
or sooner. But they've caught up to Vegas. They're close to Vegas, and they've surpassed, in terms of points totals, they've surpassed Los Angeles and Anaheim right now. You can never, they can't get complacent about that. They're ahead of Vancouver and San Jose comfortably. So it's looking a lot better, Bruce, than it was when they fired the head coach 4 games ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite an amazing thing. Like Woodcroft has come in, and he's got that swagger, of not wearing that mask properly, to hell with the rules. I'm going to do it my way. And the team's picking up on that. And anyway, what's your number?
Yeah, well, my number was 15-5.
Oh, sorry.
And so the goals for and against are 3-0-0 against the California teams. That sounds good too, doesn't it?
It does. That does. Yeah. Yeah, I got so busy gloating there over the rest of how we're beating the California teams. I've forgotten you'd given that stat. All right, Bruce. The next game is Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock
Mm.
against the Winnipeg Jets. Yikes! Who do you think we'll
Saturday
see? Koskinen?
I expect so. They'll go with Koskinen in Winnipeg and come back with Smith in the home game versus Minnesota. But I'd be very surprised if either guy gets both games. Let's put it that way. I mean, Koskinen, they've just brought him back, and they were right probably not to rush him into the lineup tonight. And I mean, Smith is here, and he's presumably the starter at this moment in time. But it'll be interesting to see how the splits go. There's so many back-to-backs and compressed schedules that I mean, this week it's probably going to work out. They play 5 and 7 days. The Smith will play 3, and Koskinen and Skinner will each get 1. I mean, they're they're going to need their resources to get through these tough bits. And this next while, I mean, this 4-0-0 run is very nice. Let's see where we are 5 games from now after they've played at Winnipeg, home to Minnesota, and then at Florida, at Tampa, at Carolina. I think that's the order. Anyway, those 3 teams, wicked road trip. No. The good news, they're playing well, and I expected them to get some sort of results out of those games. I just don't expect them to win them all, which is what they've been doing so far under 7 days, 4 wins for the new coaching team.
Yeah, this weekend those are 2 tough games. Winnipeg, a desperate Winnipeg team, desperate, and a very good Minnesota team. So yikes. Anyway, that's hockey. The Oilers are a pretty good team too.
Well, if they play like they're playing now, they're not going to be an easy out for anybody. They're really bringing the hard team play, and they're paying it a lot of attention. It's not perfect, of course, but they're paying a lot more attention and being a lot more challenging on the puck. They're not giving up as much free stuff.
Yeah.
Philip Broberg notwithstanding.
Yeah, the even strength play has really taken off, but with the power play, not so much, and the penalty killing still an issue, and the goaltending is still a question mark. So, I guess this is. Go ahead.
6-1 at even strength tonight.
Yeah.
And Bob Stauffer was talking about them being +9 in their last 11 games or something at 5-on-5, which is a huge turnaround. Like they've been underwater at 5-on-5 all year and for several years. Like even last year when they were second in the Canadian division, they were actually -1 at 5-on-5, and they made all their hay on special teams. So right now the special teams have gone dry, but the 5-on-5 play has been excellent.
Yeah. Well, maybe the power play will heat it up again. It's
no, maybe it will. It'll come. It's just I'm starting to get impatient. It's been way too long. Like it's been 2 months that they've been down in the dumps, but it'll come.
I really think they need to stick with Evan Bouchard at this point on the power play. I ran the numbers that our numbers for who's making contributions, and Bouchard makes way more contributions to grade A shots than either Nurse or Barry. And Barry leaks a lot of chances against. Like he's actually of the 3 players, he's the last one you'd want out there because he's really struggled giving up grade A shots against when he's on the power play quarterback. Oh. So he's not getting it done as well offensively, and Bouchard's just. I think it's time to make the change, but we'll see what happens there. McDavid and Draisaitl 68 points each, tied for league.
Gotta like it. Thanks. Leon alone in first now, 35 goals. One easy finish off the great McLeod pass, but the other goal was all Leon using that big side of his to pick off a Hampus Lindholm pass, deflect it into the slot, jump on it, and then rifle a bullet over Gibson's shoulder. That was a nice goal.
And a final shout out to the Canadian women's Olympic team. And I feel kind of bad, Bruce. In previous Olympics, we've tracked that team. We've done scoring chances and stuff. And if I'm completely honest, the fact that it was in China this time just has really taken away my interest in the Olympics. That country's got a lot of marks against it right now. We won't get into it, but I just can't get pumped. But I did watch most of the game, the Canadian women's game, and just because of the fact that a number of Canadians, I think, are like me and not as excited about the Olympics as they've been in the past. Doesn't take away from the tremendous accomplishment of those women. What a great group of players. And
Also.
the game was a little bit, again, it was played without a lot of fans, and that detracts considerably from a sporting event.
Yeah.
But it was still a hell of an effort by that Canadian team. They looked like the Americans have been coming on in terms of their skill and have looked like the better team in a lot of ways in this epic battle between these two hockey nations. But this team Canada looked better than the Americans, and they deserve the win. And congratulations to all of those players.
For myself, I've been watching and enjoying the Olympics. To me, I
Good,
mean, the home
good.
country is the home country. To me, the community that I'm following is the one I call the Olympic Village, the athletes. And this is their big chance to be a showpiece once every 4 years. And I enjoy most of the sports. I've always loved the Winter Olympics. This is my 16th. I haven't missed any of them. It's it's well, it's funny. Even all these sort of tricks
No,
on
what's funny is
snowboard
only you would
sports.
know how many Olympics that you've watched,
Oh,
Bruce. Like,
not that hard.
I know it's not that I just divide by four, but no, you have to add one
I,
because there was they squeezed another one,
yeah,
another one in there.
yeah, yeah. Albertville and
Albertville.
Lillehammer in 92, 94. So yeah, 64 was my first. And anyway, uh, it's I enjoy the Olympics, and I mean the men's hockey has been fairly boring, lots of low scoring games, and but the women's hockey, very action packed, and that gold medal game was quite thrilling. Marie-Philip Poulin, not only has she scored the gold medal goal in three different Olympic games, in all three of those games, she scored the last two goals for Canada in the gold medal game. And she did it again yesterday. She put them up 2-0 and 3-0, and the last one turned out to be the winner. Well, in 2010, she scored the only two goals, and the Edmonton native Shannon Sabados got to pitch the shutout, and they beat USA 2-0. That was when she was very young. Marie Philip was, 12 years younger than now. And then in 2014, she's got the tying goal in the last minute with the goalie out and the golden goal in overtime. They beat Americans 3-2 that time, too. In 2018, she only scored one goal in the gold medal game, so they lost in the shootout. But I mean, talk about clutch. 4 gold medal games, 7 goals. And if you add it up in those 4 games, Canada scored 10 goals. Marie-Philip Poulin scored 7 goals. It's, that's beyond Gretzkyan domination. So, first ballot Hall of Famer, she's one of those ones. She should get sort of the Gordie Howe, Jean Beliveau, Bobby Orr treatment, Wayne Gretzky treatment. When she retires, they just immediately just bring her into the next class of the Hall of Fame without the waiting period. That's me speaking in the afterglow of an Olympic gold medal, but I mean, she really has been a fantastic player for Canada. Darnell's cousin Sarah set the all-time record for 18 points in Olympic. And there was just good stories up and down the lineup, and they came through when it mattered most.
I'm just reading TV ratings for the Olympics are historic lows.
I'm sure.
About half of what they got for Pyeongchang, which was
Mm-hmm.
also a
Oh.
terrible time zone issue, for in terms of watching it. Anyway, I might, maybe I'll pick it up now. Maybe I'll start watching it because I agree. Like, these are Canadian athletes, and there's
Global.
they have been working hard for a long time, and there's spectacular athletes, and it's a lot of fun, the different events. But guess I
See
better get at it quick because it's going to be over soon.
I live for stuff like this. The Finnish cross-country skier, I think it was 50 kilometers. He won the gold medal, and he waited on the course for every last one of his competitors to cross the finish line to congratulate them for competing in the Olympics. And he waited like forever. I think it was a Mexican that finished, 171st or whatever it was in the race, like an hour later, and he's still out there waiting for the guy to cross the finish line. I'm thinking that's sportsmanship. That's the sportsman's ideal that I remember as a kid thinking this is why I'm pumped to be watching Olympics. And you still get these moments. And then you got these other moments where the IOC banishes a snowboard because it has the wrong logo that isn't a sponsor on. There's all this kind of BS that goes on. You know, talk about issues with China. I have issues with the IOC, but I still watch the sports. I have issues with the NHL, man, and I still watch that sport. You know, sometimes the organization is a little bit how the sausage is made, but the product can still be quite enjoyable. You just
well, think about it. Like if we had been alive in 1936 and decided, you know, and if you didn't watch it, you would have missed Jesse Owens and the great display that he had, right? So,
yes,
there's big and important moments, even if it is in a country that isn't the best.
Yeah, well, there's a few of those countries out there.
There is, Bruce.
I'll just leave that right there.
There is. And there has been throughout history. All right. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.